Find themselves in the rankings of the Minnesota Vikings after a tough win on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers.
Settle down, Kirk. Settle down.
They certainly needed to, figure out how to get things going. A late heroic touchdown throw from Kirk Cousins ended up winning that football game, so to speak, against the Carolina Panthers. So
crazy game.
They find themselves at number 7.
You like that?
You like that?
You like that? Numero 6.
At number 6, the Minnesota Vikings, the team that I obviously picked. The Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans.
The team that I picked to win the division, but yet and still, they're kind of right there. They took care of business with the Indianapolis Colts. Derrick Henry, some would say, needs to be in the MVP conversation. If he can rush for 2,500 yards, I'll put him in the MVP conversation. Don't think that's going to happen right now, but at least he has his team at number 6 in my rankings.
Numero 5.
That would be number 5 from Jay Will. The Tennessee Titans is not there, but it's the Buffalo Bills. They find themselves sitting at 5 after taking care of business against many teams in the National Football League. Josh Allen is certainly dealing and willing. He's starting to play like I think they envision. They should win the AFC East, and if they do, they're going to be a tough out come playoff time.
Numero 4 or 4.
Or 4, if you want to say that. Seattle. We watched Seattle last night, and we watched DK Metcalf go nuts. We watched our guy and Russell Wilson do what he does best, lead his team to a victory against the Philadelphia Carson Wentz-led Eagles, which some people wouldn't believe it would be that hard to do. Even though Philadelphia tried to hang in there, Wentz did at the end of the game, and Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Pete Carroll got out of there, so they find themselves at number 4.
Numero 3.
That would be number 3, the Green Bay Packers. Relax, as Aaron Rodgers would say.
Indeed.
No matter who the receivers are, he certainly continues to get it done. The Chicago Bears was his latest victim, and that we watched. Oh, look at that throw.
Wow.
Just a thing of beauty. Very scary team come playoff time. Very scary football team in the pack come playoff time.
Next up, my NBA draft status in 2002. Number 2.
There you go.
Well, it's nepotism all day long. It's the New Orleans Saints and Taysom Hill. It ain't even necessarily my nephew or Michael Thomas. It's Taysom Hill. They haven't missed a beat. Change the offense up a little bit. Not a lot of passing yardage, but they're getting it done the way they know how, playing defense and mixing things up on the offensive side of the ball. Although they did play against the Denver Broncos, and me, you, and Zubin could have won that game against them based on not having a quarterback.
Zubin, what number was Keyshawn drafted?
Uno.
Number 1.
The number 1 team in the land is the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City went to Tampa and just went nuts. Tyreek Hill, record-breaking performance in the first quarter, ended up with 260-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and Patrick Mahomes. Oh, my God. I've seen them all. I've seen them all the great ones. I've seen them in my era, not in the 1960s. But the great ones in my era, and Patrick Mahomes, by far, is at the top of that list.
And those are Keys Real Rankings. Give me 1 second while I turn off the SAP button on my set here for just 1 second. Go back to full scale English. Okay, I've got it. I punched the button. We're ready to go. So obviously, Keys got the Packers moving up from 4 to 3, a bump up from 1 ranking from last week to this week. You remember when Matt LaFleur took the job, his first year on the job last year? Aaron Rodgers and him just simply weren't on the same page. There was a lot of friction. Then suddenly they go to the NFC Championship game. Yeah, they get housed, but they exceeded expectations. This year they looked great. Aaron Rodgers was phenomenal in the resumption of the league's oldest rivalry on Sunday night. Suddenly all that little friction between Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, it is over. Listen to LaFleur gushing on Rodgers' performance Sunday night.
This is as good as I've ever seen anybody play. Just his ability to go out there and get us in the right looks and shoot, even when I make a bad call, he definitely makes us look good. So that's a credit to him. He is playing, in my eyes, is that he's an MVP player, no doubt about it. And I wouldn't want any other quarterback on our football team.
Yeah, well, see, here's what I would say about that little, I don't know, tit for tat deal that went on a year ago with Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. Was there really anything there? Was there really anything there? Or were people watching the body language and kind of saying that Matt LaFleur is in for one because at the end, Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers didn't see eye to eye. And when they won that first game, Aaron Rodgers and the team celebrated with Petman, the defensive coordinator, by dumping the water buckets on him.
Right.
So is that why we took that? Then they drafted a quarterback in the first round of this year's past draft in Jordan Love, and we said it's the end of Aaron Rodgers. Is that why? Because clearly I don't follow it that way. I've always felt like Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to get a lot of, especially from quarterbacks, you're not getting, I don't like this guy. You got to read between the lines with QBs because they want this mystery out there about who they are, what their personalities are, and I'm the leader of the team. So Aaron Rodgers is never going to say, I love the coach, he's the greatest ever, and he's never going to say, I don't like this guy, get him out of here. So people try to source through it. Then they go out there and they draft a quarterback instead of a receiver that most people thought, they need a receiver. They only got Devontae Adams. If you really watch the Green Bay Packers, they had receivers. They just kept getting hurt. They had receivers. Whether it was St. Brown, whether it was Devontae, whether it was Lazar, they had guys. And so everybody just assumed that they didn't get along. Well, I think people are changing their tunes now. And now you hear the head coach come out and say he don't want any other quarterback. Is he lying to us?
I would say no. Jay, you have an NBA comp here that you could sort of form with Rodgers.
I just feel like they are the San Antonio Spurs of the NFL, right? All their guys are homegrown. When you think about, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, guys that have grew up in the organization, right? Guys that they have drafted in the second round. Hey, these are our guys long-term, very similar to the Spurs. They're not a flashy team with the exception of Aaron Rodgers, who will make a flashy play every once in a while. That's typically how the Spurs won their championships. They have an incredible fan base. They're always in the mix, and they're not in a large market. I feel like they've won championships. They have 4 Super Bowls. The San Antonio Spurs have 5 NBA titles. It just feels like there are so many similar comparisons, and each and every year they just win. Like you wonder how.